Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember you are not on this journey alone. Today, I have the privilege of welcoming Lyndsay Dowd. Lyndsay is an international speaker, a leadership expert, author, podcast host, founder of Heartbeat for Hire, and a fellow member of the Outlier Project. Over the last few months, I've had the privilege of getting to know her, and I'm incredibly grateful to now call her my friend. She is someone I deeply admire, not only for what she's achieved personally, but for the way she shows up in the world with authenticity, heart, and a genuine commitment to help others thrive. Her work has inspired leaders across the globe, and on a personal level, she's helped shine a light on what is possibly the hardest first steps for me in business, being someone that's very new to this. In today's conversation, we'll be talking about trust, resilience, identity, courage, and reinvention. We'll also be exploring a deeply personal chapter of Lyndsy's story that shaped the woman and leader she is today. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember you are not alone on this journey. Lyndsay, welcome to Riding the Trauma Train.
Oh, Lydia, it's so nice to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's we've been speaking for a few months now, and you have paved a path for me that I didn't even know existed. So I am forever grateful for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you. This has been a few months in the making, so let's go.
Hasn't it? It's so exciting. And I want to say thank you because you've paved a way for me on my very, very early days of my business, steps and tracks and whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm forever grateful. My first question is, obviously, as I said, you do lots of things to do with leadership, connection, and you lead with heart. Now, you began your journey in business through IBM, but can you tell me a bit about Lyndsay before IBM?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't get asked that very often, but I will tell you, as a child, I was always gravitating to the leadership roles, whether it was captain of a team, a captain at camp. Like I was always kind of just out in front, trying to create these spaces where everybody wanted to be seen and heard and energized and welcomed. And, that was so integral to just who I am as a person. So it was natural to find myself in leadership roles in business. I will say though, for the first really at least decade of my business life, I was often the only woman on all male teams. I did not have great examples of leaders. I had a lot of that bro mentality of, just do it. And I'm going to tell you a story about the sports match last night and it's going to inspire you. And it never did. And and I was always like, is this really how it's supposed to be? But I just did it because that was all I saw. And it wasn't until I had a really wonderful leader who, for the first time, really did it differently. And she promoted me twice. And she asked me, hey, how do you want to run the business? I was like, you're asking me? And she said, yeah, you've been doing it longer than me. So you know things I don't know. So yeah, how do you want to do it? And it was at that moment that I was just like, this is how it's supposed to be. This autonomy, this feeling of I trust you, this is everything. And I had a few other leaders who really reinforced that. And it just created such a drive and a passion for me to understand and want to pursue this. And listen, I spent 23 years at IBM and my family put in 105. So it was my father, my husband, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and me. Everyone thought I was going to die there, including me. And at the end of 23 years, I was a little disenchanted. It was time to go. And another company recruited me. And then then we can go to the rest of the story if you want. But yeah, that's what ultimately started me on this path of being a leadership expert.
I love that because not having those experiences with the bro mentality and being in a
Ugh.
boardroom with being the only woman, you wouldn't have got that kind of resilience in order to then know what not to do.
No, and I think also back when I was starting, we were not as aware of the things that we're really comfortable talking about
Mhm.
now. So the misogyny, the sexism, the inappropriate behavior. I mean, it was all the time. So if I found myself in an elevator with a guy, like chances are I was going to get a pass or like somebody was going to do
Mhm.
something inappropriate, say something inappropriate. And I just had to suck it up.
Yeah.
And that's a really crappy way to do business, stay in business. And it wasn't all the time, but it was enough that it, it sets you off balance. And
Yeah.
when you're trying to get the best out of people, that's not the way to do it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was very important to me that I pay it forward and that I really try and illustrate what good leadership looks and feels like. Because Lydia, when I ask a room full of people, who here has had a bad manager or a bad leader, 100% of the room raises their hand. And then if I say, who here has had a great leader? It's a lot less. And
Yeah.
if you've never had it, just like my story, you don't know what it looks like. So through the podcast, through the books, through the keynotes, this is what I'm trying to do, paint pictures of what it's supposed to be. And if you haven't ever had it because you haven't been lucky enough to have a great leader, at least you can take some morsel of what I'm sharing and bring it back to your teams and say, I want to try this. And you'll watch everything shift and change. It's amazing.
I love that. And what I know you said that you were with IBM for 23 years and then you were headhunted to go to
Yes.
another company. Um, this company dropped you after 6 months.
Correct. Yeah, I left with my whole heart full, my big blue legacy. Off I went to change the world. And any reasonable leader knows it takes 6 months for a new executive to find the bathroom. It just does. It takes a
Mhm.
minute. You have to learn the politics, the process. There's just a lot to it. And so to be fired and to show up on that call that HR is now on my one-on-one that I was supposed to have with my direct manager, I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm not the girl who gets fired. I'm the girl that
Mhm.
you call to do the broken stuff, the hard stuff, build the teams, do the first of a kind businesses. That's all I had been doing for my whole career. So it really blindsided me and sent me sideways. I was so devastated, crushed. My identity was thrown. And for a month, I couldn't talk about it. And I asked myself at the end of that month, I asked myself three questions. What am I really good at? What do I love to do? And how can I help people the most? And when you ask those questions of yourself, I was pretty rudderless at the time. I was just like, no one's ever going to work with me again. I was fired. This is really what I thought.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only executive on earth that's ever been fired. Well, we all know that's not true, but that's how I felt. And there was so much shame and so much pain with that happened to me, but it really happened for me. And it was the shove out of the nest that I needed to really set me on the right path to build Heartbeat for Hire and to build all this other stuff that you talked about.
So tell me about the earliest days then. So you've just said that for a whole month that you couldn't talk about it.
No,
How did that shape you internally? That's kind of what I'm reading from that. That's loss of identity. That's
totally.
loss of trust. There's so many elements that
Oh God.
we can kind of marry up with trauma that you're going through in those
It was
moments.
grief. I mean,
Yeah.
it was absolutely grief. And, you know, when you had this beautiful decorated career and this gorgeous reputation, and I left and I was going to be making really good money and I was going to be doing this thing that was the launching pad into the next chapter, all of that taken right out from under me. And I was really just down and lost and depressed. And once I asked myself those questions, I mean, the thing I loved the most was coaching people and leadership and speaking to people about how it should be. And I had to really dig deep because how was I going to be an authority on this? And the thing is, I already was because I had so much experience and I'd managed so many teams and worked for so many people. I really saw a lot. I had a lot of material to work with. And so I just kind of dug in and I just started and I had an advisor who was just like, I think I was 5 months in. He's like, "You're going to start a podcast." And I'm like, "Why? I don't even listen to podcasts." And he's like, "No, you're good on camera. You are curious. You like to, talk to people. You'll be great at it. Do it." And I was like, I really?" And he's, "Go buy a microphone. We're going to start. And I'm going to help you with your first few guests." And he did. And that was 206 episodes ago. And now the show has 4 awards and it's ranked in the top 2.5. And that feels like such a triumph because it has staying power. I created
Mhm.
it. Nobody else did. It was just mine. And the best part is those 206 guests have all become my friends. And that I didn't expect that either, but I know I've created a safe space for them. So many of them cry, many of them tell stories they've never told before, and that feels really good. So yeah, that shove out of the nest really set me on the path to doing what I was meant to do. And it's pretty fun.
I think what you've done is you've turned going from somebody that has had this legacy and this title, you've had that title taken away from you, but that's
Yeah.
not changed who you are. You've done 206 episodes and you've had those guests because people want to talk to you, people want to
Yeah.
learn from you. And it is because it's because you lead with heart. And the moment I met you when I sat in my car in Waitrose car park and we had this conversation, you just know that you are so genuine and
Thanks.
it's I mean it. It's beautiful and it's very, very rare. Like, although you are a leadership expert, you are all these wonderful professional things, you as a person is what
Thank
sells.
you. And because there was a lot of, I don't want to say pretending, but there's a lot of, at least in my time at IBM, there was before it really towards the end, early days, there was a lot of performative ways that I had to move through the company. And I was modeling what I saw. So that, cutthroat bro mentality, let's go. I did all that because I thought that's what they wanted. And it wasn't until I started having some really great leaders who were like, "No, do you, be you," that I was like, "Wait a minute. That's nonsense. I'm not doing that anymore." And I just chose to never go back. So the part of the reason I got fired from that company was, they wanted me to be a micromanager, and I refused, and I just wouldn't. And nothing about me, I'm Lindsay all the time, like, this, I
Yeah.
don't deviate, but nothing about me in that interview process said that that was something I was willing to do, and the woman that fired me was a micromanager, and she had really, really deficient EQ, and she admitted it to me and I agreed with her, but I'm never gonna be something again that I'm not. I just won't. And, I can sit back and say that now because 'cause I'm a certain age
Yeah.
and I've built this and I know that the thing that people like the most is when I'm me. And can I tell you a short little story that validates that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for the podcast, I used to create these very branded videos on Mondays, and so my episodes drop on Wednesdays. So these Monday videos was like a headshot of Lydia with 3 things about Lydia, and it was all my colors and all my fonts and music, and it was very polished and very perfect. And nobody interacted with it. I'd get no comments. It wouldn't make any algorithm, like nothing. And so a friend of mine said to me, "Do you know why I listen to your show?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I love how you describe your guests to me. I like it because you tell me in your words why you're excited to have them on the show." And it was such a light bulb moment. And I'm like, okay, okay, we're not doing those Monday videos anymore. So I changed it. So my Monday videos, which I still have to do today's, haven't done yet. My Monday videos are no matter where I am in the world. I've done one with wet hair. Sometimes there's hair in the lip gloss. I've been in El Salvador. I've been in Milwaukee. I've been in New York. I've been in Tucson, Arizona. Wherever I am, I do these videos and it's just me telling you who's coming and why I'm excited about it. And those videos are getting so much traction and people like it because it's like we're hanging out and I'm telling you what I'm excited about. And so for anybody that is thinking about creating content or starting a podcast, don't be too precious with it because that's not what people want. They want
Mm.
authentic. They want the warts. They want the, oh my God, she flubbed that, but look how she came back from it. And that's the piece that I want people to really understand.
Yeah, I think it's like we're human. We make mistakes. We don't like nothing is polished. So I
No.
totally get that. Um, it's a lesson I'm learning along the way. Episode 25 dropped for me today, which is great.
Yay!
But how did you know in your gut that you were going to lead with your like heartbeats for heart is such a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
How did one the name come about and
Uh,
two the idea and like I've just got a feeling in my stomach. I don't know why, but that's where I'm going with it. So how
yeah.
did that part come about?
So the same guy that told me I was going to do a podcast, when I was describing to him who I was and what I did and what I wanted to do, he's like, "Oh, so you're like a heartbeat for hire." And I went, "That's it. That's what I am." And so at that moment, like he didn't know that I was going to do that, but I was like, this is the company name. This is who I am. This is what I do. And really, my mission in life is to transform leadership as we know it and to really show people that when you lead with heart and when you build trust, there is no limit to what you can do. And your people will bend over backwards for you if they feel that autonomy, if they feel that safety, if they feel they have your support and that failure is allowed. A lot of leaders get that twisted. They're like, we can't fail. If you fail, like, and that failure is how you learn. And so as a leader, being okay with failure and I talk a lot. Some people call them soft skills. I call them power skills. They are far too important to be called soft. And one of those power skills is delegation. And delegation, people think of like, oh, it's just getting stuff off my plate. No, it's actually a moment for whoever you're with to shine. And it's a moment that you are going to say, hey, listen, Lydia, I've got this project. I think you'd be great at leading it. It's my project, but I want you to run point on it. And if anything goes wrong, that's on me. But you're here to learn. I'm going to support you and help you shine. First of all, if you hear those words, how does that make you feel?
You automatically glow.
Yeah, you're like, "Let's go. I'm excited. I'm so excited. My direct boss believes in me." Like, that feels good. So, when you can do things like that, and if something does go wrong, you will never throw that person under the bus because everyone's watching you. And you will just shatter trust across the entire team if you do that. But what will also happen, and I've done this myself, when you start to do those things, people start raising their hand. Can I run with something? Can I
Yeah.
do the next project? That would be really cool because I've been interested in this and I want to build my career that way. So these are the kinds of things I'm trying to imprint on people's brains so they really understand it. So I have tons of stories in the book. Obviously, I've been on over 150 podcasts at this point. So I've told
Wow.
a lot of stories about what good leadership looks and feels like, but there's got to be humor, there's got to be humility, there's got to be authenticity, there's got to be drive, there's got to be grit. And yeah, you're going to fail and it's okay. No one's keeping
Yeah. I
score.
think I think that also marries up with asking for help
Yes,
because I think there's a lot of people that go through their careers or even in life that they're scared of failure, but they're also scared to ask for help. So I think
100%.
with what you're doing, giving that other people the opportunity to do that will also then give them the autonomy and the
Yeah.
courage to come forward and then ask for
100%.
help when they need it. It's a
Yeah.
partnership, isn't it?
It's 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 amazing when I just talked to this woman last week. She was a phenomenal human. She was former CIA Black Ops. She was on the ground in Fallujah, like wartime, really difficult time. And one day she was sitting on the banks of the Euphrates at sunset, and she just kind of looked around and was like, this feels so peaceful. This is what I want. I don't want to do the wartime stuff anymore. And
Mhm.
so she went to her direct boss and she said, I can't. I can't do the fighting. I can't do the battle stuff. I want to be in peace negotiations. And I fully expect that you're going to tell me, see ya, I'm done. He goes, no, I have connections. I'm going to help you get on that path because I want you to follow your heart. And when a leader can do that, she's like, you'll never forget that leader ever. You'll
No.
be totally indebted to who they are and what they're doing in their success. But for that leader to believe in her, she now negotiates peace on a global scale. Like, it's phenomenal what she's doing. So, when you can have somebody that says, I see you and I want to help you get there, you might not have all the answers, but you can start asking some questions.
Yeah,
So
and
it's just super important.
it's that having those people having that same faith in you that you have in yourself. So taking that first step
I
and
love that.
then having that support, yeah, phenomenal. Let's touch on your books then. So
Sure.
how many books have you got?
2, 2.
Two.
It's this one, Top Down Culture. So that was my first book. And this is it's not a real literary tome. You can get through it in a relatively short sitting, but it's a lot of stories. It's the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. And it was written to illustrate what good leadership looks and feels like. And there's some horror stories in there, but all true about things I observed, things that happened to me. But it's it's an easy read, and the biggest compliment I get about that book is people say they hear my voice, and I'm
Wow.
like, oh, that's cool. I like that. And then the second one is this one, which is an international bestseller. It's Voices of Women. It's a leadership anthology. There's 22 women that wrote their stories, and they're all really different, really important, and very, very cool. So it was an honor to be asked to do that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I love everything about the concept that you've built to this date and that you're still building. Let's talk a little bit about the things people don't know. So
sure.
obviously we're on riding the trauma train and like losing your identity and changing career. Well, you've not changed careers, but you've had that kind of whole identity taken from you. But this you we touched on yesterday. In fact, I've got a lovely little voice note from you. That you've had a near death experience.
Hmm.
Now, that's even that in a sentence is quite scary. So
Yeah.
tell me about what that was.
Yeah. So this was back in 2005. And I was working at IBM. I was married to my husband, who I met at IBM. And that February of that year, I had an asthma attack. And I had asthma as a child. It was exertional asthma, and I outgrew it. And I went to school in Colorado and had no asthma there. So I didn't think it would ever come back. So it was February. I was getting snow off the car. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, I'm really having a hard time breathing. And I lived about, you know, 2 minutes from the hospital. So I drove myself to the hospital and they're like, "Yeah, you're having an asthma attack." And they gave me albuterol, which just helps you, open your airways and breathe better. And I was like, "Well, that was not fun." But, it gave me an inhaler, off I went. And over the course of February to October, my asthma got progressively dangerously worse. And I ended up going to a number of different doctors who were prescribing me all the wrong things like antibiotics, and like they just wouldn't send me to a pulmonologist, and I didn't know to ask for it either. So it was a
Mhm.
really bad case of neglect. But what people won't tell you about asthma is if you use your rescue meds more than twice a week, you need to change your controlled meds. And I wasn't on any controlled meds. But to give you perspective of how sick I was nebulizing, which is way bigger than an inhaler. A nebulizer, you sit with a mask and you breathe in for, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I was doing that 3 times a day. And I was at the point
Wow.
now where I couldn't if I washed my hair in the shower, it would send me into a full-blown attack, and I'd have to sit down on the floor of the shower. I was so, so sick, and I was in so much denial because these doctors weren't giving me any hope, any reason for feeling like I'm making progress, but I'm not a quitter, so I was just gonna muscle through. So I Lydia, I was so sick. It was really dangerous. And so I was going to visit a client and fly to upstate New York. And so I drove down to Boston Logan Airport and got my little ticket for my parking garage. And between the time I got my ticket And the time I parked, I was in a full blown attack. And I knew I only had enough time to either use my nebulizer or call 911. And so I called 911, and I was facing a wall and next to a chain link fence. So not in a particularly like well-traveled part of the garage. And the dispatch was having a really hard time understanding me. And I was right in front of a sign, and I kept saying 4B, 4B, that's where I am. And she was trying really hard, but I started to go unconscious, and someone knocked on my window and said, "Are you okay?" Now I'm in the car with the windows up. So the fact that this person came by and knocked, and all I heard was, "Give him your phone." And I handed my phone out the window and I went out. And you can hear on the 911 call that he's like, "She does not look good. She's unconscious. Like, this is bad." He flags down a state police guy and someone from Massport, which is someone that works at the airport. And the two of them start doing CPR on me. And they dispatched the ambulance, but the ambulance couldn't get up to where I was because the ceiling was too low. So they had to come up on foot. And so they came up on foot. And I don't remember this, but this is in the notes, that they gave me a big blast of albuterol and oxygen, and I came to for a split second. I grabbed the EMT by the throat and I said, "I'm asthmatic. You need to intubate me." And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, "I'm bossy when I'm dead. This is really funny." So, so anyway, they had to intubate me on the garage floor and then took me to Mass General, which is a really famous hospital in Boston. And by the time I got there, my pH in my blood was so off. I had so much carbon dioxide in my blood. I was closer to beer than I was to tap water. And they said, "We have never revived anyone in her condition." And my organs started to fail. They they were trying everything. I had a million tubes hooked up to me. They kept trying to get me in for scans, and I kept like not being able to breathe. And so they kept me intubated and they put me in a coma. And so I stayed in that coma for about a week. And
Wow.
I will tell you, the first thing everybody says is, "Well, like, you know, what happened? You died. Like, what happened?" And they expect me to say, "Oh, I saw Jesus," or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
Jewish, so that wasn't gonna happen. So, but I will tell you, there is a whole story, and if you wanna hear it, I'll tell you about what I saw and what I experienced, but, I didn't see him, but you want me to tell that story? You want me to tell what I
Yeah.
saw?
I'm
Okay.
literally hanging on
Okay.
a thread.
So, it's a really cool thing. First of all, anybody that is afraid of dying, I'm just gonna tell you, it is the easiest thing to do. All you do is let go. And it is so peaceful and it is so beautiful. So anybody that is like terrified, please don't be terrified. It is actually lovely, but it's also lovely being here. It was in a fabulous dress. I mean, I looked good. And then I was walking towards this what felt like a party, and you couldn't see people's faces, you could just feel their energy, but you could completely understand them, and it was very telepathic in how you were communicating. And so I was on this line waiting for my turn to go to the party, and I got to my turn, and they're holding the list, and they're like, "Nope, you can't come, you have to go back." And so I turned around and went back, and I saw my dog that had just passed a month prior, and I saw my old roommate who had passed from lung cancer. And so
Oh,
it's emotional, but anyway, what I will tell you is there's no concept of time when you're out. I mean, I could have been out for 5 minutes, I could have been out for 5 months. You really don't know. And so when you come out of it, I'll never forget, my husband was there, and there's like 7 doctors all kind of like proudly standing looking at me. And I'm like, "Who the hell are these people?" And he's like, "These are the people who have been saving your life, who worked on you for the last week." And I'm like, "I've never seen them before." And he said, "Well, they know every part of you, so they know you really well at this point." And I was like, "Oh, okay, if you say so." Uh, but what I will tell you is when you experience something like that, it changes the way you live your life. And it wasn't my time. There was a lot of divine intervention that kept me here. And I've had a lot of psychics confirm over the years that my angels, my guardian angels were like hurling divine intervention at the doctors to get them to do, whatever they could to keep me here. And I asked about the guy who knocked on the car window. And I asked the policeman that was doing CPR on me, I said, "What happened to that guy?" Because I've been first on the scene many times and I never leave. Like, I wait until the
Yeah.
ambulance comes. And he's like, "Lindsay, he walked to the elevator, he pressed up, he had no luggage, and he disappeared." And so I said, we actually went on the news to thank him. And we said, "Could you please come forward? Could you please, because we want to thank you." Nobody ever responded, and, the psychics all confirmed he was an earth angel. Like, it was somebody just there to get the help to me because I wouldn't have been found otherwise, I woulda died in my car. And the head of the MICU said, "Lindsay, you are worse than any patient we've never been able to revive anybody in your case, so it's really miraculous that you're still here." So it's pretty cool, and to this day, the pulmonologist that saved my life, he and I are still friends. We text each other, and whenever I go to see him, I always say, I'm here. This doctor saved my life because you get to talk to the nurses first, and they're like, "Oh, we know. We know you're a very important patient." And so we always tell everybody the story about, because they don't get to fix where I was very often. So to
Yeah.
be able to have that story is precious and rare, and I know that I have a lot to do. And what was also very cool was that was 2005. I was able to get pregnant with my twins and have them in 2008. So all these doctors that worked on me heard that story and they're like, "Oh my God, this is the best." So
It's
I had
like
more
this,
work to
there's
do.
gonna be no dry eye.
Yeah, I had more work to do. So, yeah, so that's the story. So,
Wow.
makes you think differently, makes you live differently, makes you make different choices for sure.
I'm almost speechless. I just think I got tears, I got goosebumps, and I am truly honored that you shared that because that is, yeah, that's wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am
it's
literally speechless. It's not it's not very often I am.
when I meet other people that have had near death experiences, they say the same thing. Like, you have important work to do. You've got to live with a lot of purpose and a lot of intention. And I just hope it doesn't take a near death experience for anyone listening to choose that path. Because I mean, look at you, look at what you're doing. You're living with so much purpose, and I hope more people can realize that and choose to be in community with other epic humans who are doing amazing things. It sure does make your life rich, and that's what I'm here for.
When with regards to Heartbeat for Hire, when did this happen in, like, years wise? What was
Yeah, so that was Heartbeat for Hire was much later, and by the way, I was working for a male boss at the time. I was on an all-male team, and they were great. They were really, respectful and supportive and, take the time you need kind of stuff, and I wrote them all an email about, like, "Hey, this was my experience," and I felt very entitled to be able to share
Mhm,
that. Some people were like, "She's so cheerful and rah-rah anyway, whatever." And other people were like, "Wow, these are words that I wanna internalize and live with," and, different strokes. What are you gonna do?
yeah.
But, so I started Heartbeat for Hire in 22, January of 22. No, is that right? Yeah, 21, 22, right around there. So, that's when that all started. So I had lots of time still in my career to go, and lots of and I started getting, less wrapped up in the nonsense when I was at IBM. So the little things that would send me sideways, I'm just like, is that big of a deal? No, not really. And so when you become more focused on the important stuff, people look at you differently. They understand you're coming with a different energy, a different intention. And I've really tried to tell my kids, is this a big thing or is this a small thing? Is this the reaction you need to have right now? Because you probably don't. And,
Mhm.
teenagers, they can fly off the handle at really dumb stuff. So it's fun to be able to try and offer some perspective of, like, is this a big thing or a small thing? And then, they can be like, "Yeah, that was small. Sorry." So, hopefully, telling this story gives people a little reframe of how they can look at their lives. But, yeah, it's life is important and it's precious, and do a lot with it because
Yeah.
your time can end at any time. I mean, it almost was then for me.
Do you think then that with even though you're still working in IBM in this kind of
Mhm.
bro culture, that this moment opened your eyes to actually you don't need to do that
Yeah.
and you can follow your heart?
100%. Yes. And it also helped shape my choices with the roles I started taking. It made me more courageous. It made me more interested in I got to we had this wonderful concept at IBM, and I don't see it very many places, but you were allowed to have informational interviews with other executives that were not in your reporting chain. So if I would go and meet another vice president of a business who had never met me before, I'd get to, explain who I am, what I do, and they would be like, "Oh my gosh, Lindsay, I have an opening on my team. You're exactly what I'm looking for." And so that happened to me 5 times, and
Wow.
so that became a way for me to really scratch an itch, for me to learn some new skills, for me to really kind of build something. I did a lot of first of a kind businesses, like brands that had never been built before, teams that were desperately broken. And so to be able to do that and be respected for those things, it became like I was a bit of a maverick and I liked it. I always knew at the end of like 2.5 to 3 years, I'm like, okay, now it's time for something else. I've grown as much as I can in this role. I want to do something else. And that's been consistent through the entire career. This is a little different because it's mine and it's changed
Yeah.
so much since I started. And I would just say for anybody listening that is a solopreneur, entrepreneur, thinking about starting your own thing, just have it be very centered on who you are. You likely have some skills that you can leverage. Listen, I thought I know so much about business. I'm going to be great at this entrepreneur thing. There were so many things I didn't understand. There were so many things I had to learn. And so surrounding yourself with people who are doing it right, hiring a coach, so important. So important because you'll make a lot of mistakes. I did. But like you heard, I didn't know I needed to do a podcast. I now have a live show. I did that on my own. I, started coaching individuals and C-suites and keynoting and all that stuff. I wasn't doing that at IBM. I was coaching, but in a leadership role. It was different. So, yeah, it's been an evolution and it's been a fun time, but hard and
Yeah.
exhilarating and thrilling and frustrating and confusing and fun and joyful and yeah, all the things.
But with hard work comes great reward. So I
Yes,
think and I with leading by heart, it means that you can put everything that you want into something and
you
you
bet.
get that in return. So I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I wanna bring it back to obviously riding the trauma train. If anybody's listening, they may not have had a near-death experience with they
Mhm. Of
may have lost a loved one,
course.
lost their identity, lost their jobs. What would you say to them if they were starting out at the beginning of themselves again?
Yeah.
How would you get them to kind of play that out in the beginning?
I would tell them to ask the same 3 questions that I asked, which is what am I really good at? What do I love to do? And how can I help people the most? And if you can use that as your compass, your guide, you're going to stay aligned with your purpose. And I've learned that when you're doing what you're meant to do, your work is gonna be far more rewarding, far more fulfilling, and people are going to be attracted to you and wanna work with you because they see you're connected to what you love. So, yeah, I think a lot of people, "I have this product and it's gonna solve this thing," and, they do really well with it, and they work really hard and they grind and they burn out and they can't figure out why, and it has to be aligned with your heart. Um, so that's just for me, that's the way it's worked. And I don't know. I think I talk to a lot of people who start side hustles, and I'm usually the one that pushes them there because I love to see people, dip your toe in something and see how it can go. There's an outlier friend of ours. His name is Ben Duthie, and Ben. his dad is also an outlier, and Tim, and he said, Tim said to me, Lindsay, would you talk to Ben? He just graduated university and I'd love you to just give him some advice. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So we have this first conversation and I said to him, hey, Ben, I'm going to give you some advice. And I don't think anybody else is going to give you this advice, but take with it what you want. And he said,
Mm.
sure, go ahead. I said, well, I'm going to tell you, you're probably really good at something that you just love to do. And you're young. So you're probably really good at like video editing, right? And he said, oh, yeah, I'm really good at it. And I said, okay, so let me just share this. Anyone over the age of 40 is likely terrible at it because we weren't born with it. We weren't brought up thinking this way. Our synapses don't do the same things that yours does. And it's a lot harder for us. I said, so you'd have a massive client base of people that need video editing help. So I want you to start your side hustle. He's like, really? I said, yeah. He goes, can I do some work on your show? And I said, all right, I actually would love you to produce a video of mine. And I was looking for a specific sponsor, working with this hair brand. And I said, let's do something creative. I'm going to give you carte blanche, see what you can figure out, but this is what I'm going for. And I gave him like this much information and he produced the most beautiful video. It was so fantastic. I said, if you do a good job, I'm going to shout you out to all the outliers and I'm going to shout you out on LinkedIn. And I did. And he got, I think, 6 customers out of it. And then he sent me this. This was his postcard. This was from Argentina. He said, I'm on my first business trip I've ever taken. And he is now doing this full time. He's crushing it. And he's doing something he loved. He's traveling. He's working with incredible people. And I'm so proud of him. So,
Do
are
you want to know something even funnier?
you working with him
I've got
too?
a call with him. No, I've got a call with him in an hour.
Oh my god, I love him so
Oh,
much.
brilliant.
So,
That
you
is
have to
so funny.
tell him that we talked about him on your show. Make sure he
I
listens.
will.
But he
Oh,
knows I
that's
talk about him all the time because 'cause I'm so proud of him. I just think, when you can do something that is so aligned with who you are, it doesn't feel like work.
no, but you gave him the crux of what you wanted, and you gave him that autonomy, so he was able to
Hell
go and
yeah.
do that with
Hell
his
yeah.
own heart as well as with what you wanted. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that, and it's so important. And I think you have to trust yourself, don't you? You have to trust your instinct, and even if it's something that you're teetering on the edge of, if it's in your gut, if you have
Yeah.
that seed or that fire, you've got to nurture it. So
Oh,
I do.
can I just say
Go
one
on.
more thing on
Yeah.
this? There are so many people that are afraid of taking this kind of leap. And these people will tell you, sounds risky. Don't do it. I've seen people do this and then they fail. Don't listen to those people. Find the people like Lydia, like me, like our community who are doing the audacious, crazy thing and who have learned the lessons. Because I say to people all the time, my neighbors don't understand what I do. My childhood friends don't understand. My family does not understand what I do. So I can talk to you. I can talk to outliers. I can talk to other people in the solopreneur, entrepreneur, podcasting, keynote space. They know exactly what I'm doing. And they're going to tell me, hey, Dowd, I was watching this. I saw this. You might want to think about doing it this way. Oh my God, great idea. So when you surround yourself with people who understand what you're doing, that will help you. You are going to be surrounded by naysayers. Don't
Hmm.
listen. Don't listen.
I love that. Thank you. Right. I ask everybody that comes onto the podcast a conductor's question because obviously
Mm,
I've got to bring it back to trains.
right.
If you could go back to the Lyndsay Dowd that was sat in that corporate job in IBM, punching numbers, crunching all these business things, and being in, I think Cody Sanchez said boss bitch era. I think that's what it
Mhm.
was, a boss bitch era. If you could go back to that Lyndsay and know what you now know,
Mm.
post near death experience, post heartbeat for hire, what would you tell her?
I would probably say Don't sweat the small stuff. Surround yourself with the people who are doing it right. And I learned that late in my time at IBM. But God, I got on a rocket ship once I was around those people. And I think I was desperately seeking that early on. I just didn't have access to those people, and there weren't that many of them either. So,
Hmm.
yeah, find the people who are doing it right. Take the time to get to know people and be the biggest cheerleader you can. And I say that because when you lift other people up, that always looks good on you. You lifting someone else up is no threat to you. It doesn't undermine your success ever. And if you're a leader, do not ever worry about if I'm going to say, hey, you guys, Lydia did such a phenomenal job on this project. Lydia, I want you to take the floor and I want you to tell us about it. I lose no shine lifting her up. None. If
Yeah,
anything, she's a reflection on me. So stop being stingy with your praise, celebrate often. And whether that's on LinkedIn or whether that's in your office or with your team, just give people their flowers. It feels good. It will rewire your brain and help you see the world differently. And that's what we all need a little more.
absolutely. I love that. Thank you so, so much. This has been an amazing episode. And can you tell people where they can find you? Obviously, we've said Heartbeat for Hire probably 1,000 times, but can you tell me all the places that people can find you? And obviously, if there's somebody that is in leadership or needs coaching on that kind of
Yes,
era,
yes. You can
can
always
you?
find me at my website, heartbeatforhire.com, but I'm on pretty much all of the socials. The only one I'm not on is X. And if you look for me, it's Lyndsay Dowd, H4H. And I know Lydia is going to put it in the show notes and spell it right for you, because if you just look for Lyndsay, I promise you're going to spell it wrong. So yeah, it's Lyndsay and it's DOWD4H, meaning heartbeat for hire. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and then wherever you find your favorite show.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. And can't wait to see you next time.
Thanks for having me, friend.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember you are not alone in what you're feeling and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.